should have taken you out. He wrestled with that thing. He wrestled with that thing to the point where he ended up jumping in the river, the law enforcement official, because he couldn't bear living in a world where there was something that trumped law. He couldn't fathom that there was a world that the law was the only way to live based upon his life. But you're trying to tell me that the world that I knew isn't real? The way that I live wasn't right? The stuff that I did all this time, I lived according to a rigid way of life. And guess what? There was no changing. It was what it was. And that black and white world made me feel comfortable. It made him feel safe. It made him feel as though he could understand the world and how things work. If something was, it was either the law or it was against the law. But John Valjean showed him something else. Showed him grace. And he couldn't live in a world where there was grace. He jumped to his peril because he would rather die than have to change. That's darkness. Did that make sense, y'all?
It is.
Yes, that makes sense. Does that mean that Jews are living in darkness today?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. But not just Jews.
I mean, no, not just Jews. Jews. I was just thinking about them when you were doing your analogy, because the Pharisees and they lived. You know, it was the law, and that was the thing that was the thing that kept them from believing.
That's absolutely correct. The law.
The law.
Who can believe in a God that can die? I'm going to show you that Jesus isn't God. I'm going to kill him. He blasphemes. You say you are the King of the Jews. It is as you have spoken. I am. And as a result of their I am, what did the Jews want to do?
Kill him.
They wanted to stone him at that time. They wanted to kill him. He's blaspheming. He's blaspheming. What man can call himself God? And we're going to prove that he's not God. We're going to put him on a cross. We're going to kill him. Not realizing that his death was an agent of grace. His death allowed grace to be entered into this world. This world was now being addressed with a new covenant. Remember what Jesus said? The old covenant came in the 10, right? But now, there are two. Right? The covenant of grace says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And the second is as the same, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. For this fulfills the law. Right? This fulfills the law. What? Now, what? God talking about love now. Whoo! There are many of us who live in such darkness inside that we can't fully understand through the light and exposure that God is trying to illuminate us with what love is even all about. We can't even see it. We can't even experience it. We can't even experience what joy is all about. Because much like that law enforcement guy, we're living in our own reality of truth of what God said. Ain't too different than Bildad, when I talked to y'all about Bildad, right? There are many of us who live in such darkness on the inside that it's difficult for us to reframe our perspective to say, I'm wrong. Right? Ms. Grace and I talked the other day, and we were captured by the fact that there is nothing we can do greater in our Christian walk than to accept our depravity. You just got to know, ain't no good in you. You just got to know, ain't no good in you, right? 2 Corinthians 12 says, I can only be strong when I'm weak. Paul says, I've learned to glory in my weakness. Right? My depravity, my inability to do, my ability to accept my darkness. Right? If I can accept my darkness, then guess what God can do? He can allow there to be light. The light can come through. Because guess what I did? I now have reframed life, and now I look at life not using the bad eye, but now I use the good eye. My good eye is the eye that sees me for who I am. My good eye is the eye that can not only look out, but look in. My good eye is the eye that sees when I'm operating outside the will of God. My good eye allows me to see that stuff in me that I don't want the world to see. My good eye allows me to see my depravity, my sin, my lust, my deviousness, my gossip, my guilt, all my stuff. My good eye allows me to see. But many of us confuse the bad eye for the good eye. We think that the bad eye is the true reflection of who we are. We can see everybody else's stuff and can't see nothing about yourself. Because you continually focus on everybody else. I know it's true. We do it all the time. We can see how somebody else is stumbling and didn't see how yesterday you did the same thing. And when you do it around people in your life, they start scratching their head, trying to figure out what is it about this that you can't see. You just fussed at me about something that you're doing right now. But you can't see your own stuff. Don't we live that way?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. But you know, when you can use that good eye, it humbles you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Ms. Grace, because the truth of the matter is, the text reveals to us what man who lights a light puts the light under a basket. When the light is lit, guess what you do? You put it on a lampstand. What am I saying? That which you are exposed or have been exposed of, guess what? Put it on display. I am who I am. Because it's with that type of conviction, that type of determination, that type of a genuine, authentic walking toward God's will, it's that type of thing that will allow us to become successful and live victorious lives. If we choose to walk or continue to walk in darkness, guess what we're doing? We are setting ourselves up for failure. We're walking around as Christians, supposedly in the light and destroyed inside. Have no joy inside, no peace inside, no a sense of kindness, no sense of stability. Why? Because we choose to walk in accordance to that which we think we see, as opposed to walking in the truth of what really is. What really is that you're busted and disgusted. What really is that you're a drug addict, you're an alcoholic, you're a womanizer, you are selfish, insecure, inferior. You want the world to look at you as though you're all that in a bag of chips, but you have no ability to walk in that which you say you are to the world. Why? Because behind the mask is a broken man.
When I said it humbles you, it point where you recognize, if you never did before, you need a Savior. And humble you in terms
Can't do it without a Savior.
That's true. Of you recognize who He is, what He did, and that's life changing.
So, Ms. Grace, you're trying to tell me that my good government job is not my Savior?
No, it's
You're trying to tell me that the fact that I can wear Brooks Brothers suits and wear London Bush shoes and got my Florsheems on, nice tie mark, you know, eat my three-piece suit and all that, that doesn't save me?
No.
The fact that people see me and are impressed by me and look at me and say, wow, what a great man. Wow, what an awesome dude. Wow, man, that dude can speak. That guy, I'd love to be able to communicate like him. I'd love to be able to walk like him and look like him. I'd love to be able to. That don't save me, Miss Grace. You know why it doesn't save me? Because that's all external. Truth of the matter is, I can be all that and behind all that, be just as broken and dead inside.
That's true.
Full of darkness. And I'm calling darkness light. How often do we do that? How often are we walking in darkness, duping ourselves, fooling ourselves that the darkness is light? Calling that which we see with the bad eye good. And refusing to see the world using our good eye, which actually can see inside. My prayer for us as we go forward in 2016, let's look at stuff using the good eye. Right? Because guess what the text says? That if we look at the world using our good eye, then light can come in. But if we choose to look at the world using our bad eye, all we're doing is allowing darkness to be blocked. It's like a man who walks around with a patch, calling the patched eye his good eye.